Welcome back to Happy Hour, everyone. Flying in style. About a week ago, a House panel reportedly approved nearly $200 million of your dollars for the Air Force to buy 3 elite Gulfstream 550 jets. Yeah, not for the Air Force, for themselves. I guess they don't remember ridiculing the big 3 CEOs, the automakers, for flying around in jets less fancy than a G550. Well, our next guests are all fed up by exactly this sort of thing, not from the Democrats, not from the Republicans, but from both of them. And they're going to take matters into their own hands. We're going to welcome to Happy Hour Rand Paul. He is the son of Texas Republican Ron Paul. Rand is making a big announcement today. We're going to hear about that. Peter Schiff from Ural Pacific Capital. He's from Senator Chris Dodd's neighborhood.
Hint, hint.
More on that. I'll leave that as a cliffhanger. And, of course, the Honorable Judge Andrew Napolitano.
All rise.
Fox News
Remain seated, remain seated.
Analyst. He gave me a pass. It's a standing pass to sit.
You always get your way with me, Mrs. Time.
Brett.
Yeah. So, Mr. Paul, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You made the big announcement. Tell our viewers now.
Well, I came to New York to announce on the Neil Cavuto show that I'm running for the U.S. Senate from Kentucky. The main reason I run for office is not because I need a job. I have a job. I'm an eye surgeon, and we'll just soon continue doing that. But I'm worried about the country. I'm worried about the debt. I'm also worried that both parties really haven't done a very good job with the debt. We have so many career politicians, people who from the time they get out of college to the time they go to the grave, they're feeding at the public trough. I think we need some citizens who go out and work for a living, are regular Joes like the rest of us, who pay their taxes and work in their community, who become legislators and then go back and live with the people and don't become some part of some elite class that lives in Washington.
So, of course, you're running as an independent.
Who wants to get elected? You're exactly right. I'm running as an independent Republican.
But there's my conundrum. The Republican Party, guys like you provide cover for the socialists and the fascists that have destroyed my country, that bail out Wall Street, that bail out the automakers. Why are you running as a Republican? Free yourself.
Fortunately, I don't have to convince you because I don't think you're moving to Kentucky anytime
soon. No, not anytime soon.
He'd vote for it.
We have a lot of viewers in Kentucky.
Yes. No, I think the thing is that I think the issues are more important than the label. The reason we have labels is because the laws make us run as one party or another, because it's very hard to get on the ballot for third parties. There are all kinds of restrictions. Believe me, I've been out there and I've seen how hard it is for third parties to get going. The other thing is, for example, a lot of people take the lead from presidential politics. We used to have the League of Women Voters, and the media let us down on this too. The media should be sponsoring the presidential debates. But you know who sponsors them? The Republican-Democrat Commission. Oh. When Ross Perot ran as an independent, he got 17% of the vote. He scared the bejesus out of them because they don't want that, so they control the debates now. But it's a two-party system.
We have to split this up a little bit. Where do you stand on term limits?
I'm for term limits.
You're for term limits. Fantastic. Judge, I'm going to throw it over to you now. By Rand running, is he going to dilute another Republican who may or may not win a seat? What is he doing? Where does the independent fall as far as taking votes away from someone who may be a very strong Republican?
I share Cody's view, but I know Rand Paul, and I know his father, Ron Paul, very well. They're running in the Republican Party because the two-party system has monopolized access to the ballot and the means of communicating during a campaign. Once he's elected, and it'll be, I don't know how many people are going to run in Kentucky, but if he is elected, and once he is elected, he'll be as faithful to the Constitution and to the free market as his father is. He doesn't need the support of the parties, but you'll have to have a party label to get on the ballot.
Yeah, all right. Well, and the thing is you vote for the party when the party's correct.
Yeah.
And the Republican Party, the platform is very good.
Never.
I think the Republican platform is actually very good. The problem is the Republicans often haven't adhered to their platform. The bank bailout vote. Half the Republican leadership voted for it, but
don't get us started on that one, okay? Don't get us started there.
The Republican platform says we don't vote for bank bailout.
We also have another big announcement here on Happy Hour, Peter.
Whoa!
My announcement is I support Rand.
Your announcement, you're going to write a check
I'm giving him a check at his fundraiser at about 2 hours downtown.
You're from Connecticut, and you know you are considering, you formed an exploratory committee to run against Senator Dodd.
Well, before I would get to run against Senator Dodd, I would have to run against the 3 Republicans that already want that nomination. But I agree with Rand that we don't need more politicians in Washington. So just replacing Dodd with an equivalent from the Republican Party isn't going to do any good. I mean, we're just going to change the name on the paycheck, but nothing will change. And if we want to change these policies, I mean, my blood is boiling, you know, as I'm listening to you guys talking about class for clunkers. And first of all, you know, I don't know, you know, what kind of happy hour you guys were running, because your PA took my drink away. But while I still had my drink and I was listening to this.
That's because Cody's used up his quota.
Clunkers has got to be one of the stupidest things that you could do, because let me explain what the program is.
Wait.
Well, hold on. Let me do
We're not doing class for
No. Let me explain this program.
Judge, what about a true libertarian actually winning a third party where they come out and say,
this isn't a third party.
Well, I understand, Peter, but I want to know, the only way to get to that is by paying your dues in the trenches, and maybe a Rand doesn't win, but if a Rand or a Peter doesn't win,
the people that will oppose Rand Paul the most are not the rank and file voters, but the leadership of the Republican Party that fears someone who is true to the Goldwater tradition.
You're running as a Republican.
Well, I'm not running yet, but if I decide to run, I'm going to run in the Republican primary to try to get the Republican nomination so I can run against Chris Dodd as a Republican. Because that's the only way to win is as a Republican. And I am a Republican in the sense...
You've got to quit propagating that propaganda,
Propagating what?
that hype, that lie, that you have to be part of the two-party system. So long as
wait a minute. What party would you suggest I run on?
As a total independent.
Well, and then lose?
I would agree with that.
No, I think there's a major backlash.
If I run as an independent...
Democrats equally. We're not voting for them.
To run as an independent, I would have to beat Dodd and the Republican. And the most likely result of my running as an independent would be I would split the anti-Dodd vote, and we would send Dodd back to the Senate.
What is the sense of him running if he knows he can't win?
That's the problem. That's why you have two parties, because no one thinks they can beat the Republicans.
But what difference does it make? Now listen, what difference does it make if they call themselves Republicans, get elected, and vote as Libertarians?
But two of you are saying you want to bring real, true change.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Doesn't real, true
I think the
change by
judge,
changing that foundation, that corrupt foundation?
Right, but I think the judge has it right. There's a disconnect between the Republican grassroots and the Republican leadership. For example, I've spoken 50 or 60 times in Kentucky. I've been to 20 counties. I ask every event, who in the audience would have voted for the bank bailout? Not one Republican primary voter, but half of the Republicans in Washington did. There's a disconnect, and so I tell them, and that's my message, you got to have new leadership in your party.
We're never voting for a Republican again, ever.
Look, there is a difference between the Republican voters and the Republican leadership. And to say that, you know, we have to be libertarians, you know, I can say I'm a Republican in the sense that Barry Goldwater was a Republican, or Ronald Reagan. The problem is the Republican leadership, they're not real Republicans.
Correct.
If I run in the primary, I'd probably be the only Republican in the race.
We need a new tag then, you know, like they have the Blue Dog Democrats, and you know...
Can I ask Cody a question? You would vote for either of them as long as they didn't call themselves Republicans?
Return
so you're only concerned about labor?
Of limited government and sound money, because they strayed away from that.
Correct.
You would vote for them as long as they don't call themselves Republicans?
Correct. The Republican Party, as long as you guys are in the Republican Party, you are the fringe members of the Republican Party, and you empower those fascists and socialists that control the Republican Party.
Actually, they take power. They take power. They take power away from the fascists that control the Republican Party.
Ronald Reagan was at the fringe when it was the Rockefeller Republicans that defined the party. But the fringe can influence and change the direction of the party. And that's what we have to do. Look, this country is going to go down the drain. This is going to be an economic wasteland if we do not change course.
Parties change over time. Look, for example, what the Republican Party was in the 70s. But look, in the 1920s, in 1921, we got 95% of the African-American vote. Now it's 95% Democrat. So things change, parties change, and people change. What we need to do is change the Republican Party back to what we think it should be.
We got to wrap it.
I ain't part of that.
We got to wrap it, Rand Paul.
Why can't Cody be as reasonable as Dr. Paul?
This may be the first time I agree with Cody on this.
I was over there.
5:30:59 on August 5th. All right, on tap. Thank you, Judge Napolitano. Thanks for joining us.